Miss Timora leads you out of the courthouse into the city. Every time you ask her where she's taking you, she avoids answering your question. Alright, we're here. You arrive in an empty alley in the frankly seedier part of the city. As Miss Timora approaches one of the derelict buildings, she's met with a large, burly man who's guarding the back door. The man silently acknowledges her and steps aside to let her in. Miss Timora, where are we going? I'm sorry about this. I'm sure you're confused. But please trust me, I'll explain everything. Before you have a chance to ask for more information, she moves into the building. The man guarding the door looks at you expectantly. The entire situation doesn't sit right with you, but you still continue to follow her. Despite your recent disagreements, you know that you can trust her. As you head further into the building, you find yourself in a surprisingly well-furnished room. From how it looked outside, you would have never guessed that it would look like this. It almost looks like a room that you'd encounter in the Frege Manor. As you enter the room, you spot several mercenaries standing at various points in the room. And most surprisingly, you see Iris standing at the end of the room. You give her a confused look, but she simply smiles and waves at you. Sitting at a desk next to her, you see a man with an eye patch. Looks like he's been expecting you. Ah, Timora. Upon seeing you two, he cordially welcomes Miss Timora before turning his attention to you. And you must be Tyrion. Timora has told me a lot about you. I see, but who are you? I've been called many names over the years, but my favorite has always been the Eye Taker. The Eye Taker. From the sounds of it, you've already heard of me. Miss Timora, what is this? My daughter Iris has told me all about your work prosecuting this case. She's his daughter? But I have to say, I'm quite impressed. Getting a monkey to testify? I don't think I could have ever pulled off a grift like that. You've pretty much blown past my expectations. Why, I get to the point. As soon as you interrupt him, you feel every person in the room tense up. You don't even need the eye to know that your interruption put them on edge. Relax, everyone. Kids will be kids. I'm a father myself, you know. Anyways, I'll get straight to the point. I have a certain interest in the outcome of this trial. What are you talking about? Little Lady Frege has been a client of ours for a long time. I've done quite a lot of favors for her, and the time has finally come for me to collect those debts that Steelman mentioned. They all belong to me. But there's no need to worry, I know she's good for it. That is, if she can inherit House Frege. What? Timora's a good attorney, even without my help. If she's convicted, we could easily reduce her sentence by rubbing the right hands. But you see, there's that pesky Slayer rule. The thing is, Cuthbert, I need Beatrice Frege to be acquitted in the current trial. So that's what this is about, House Frege's gold? That's why you helped her murder William Frege? Please, my goals aren't nearly so short-sighted. I have big plans, not just for Beatrice, but for this entire kingdom. And I need House Frege for that. Just like you needed Justin Way. Tyrion. Justin, it's really a shame what happened to him. Don't act so innocent. He would have never tried to rob Dracogian if you didn't threaten him. Is that so? Do you think I just randomly showed up on his doorstep one day, demanding gold? He was the one who came to me for help. I just told him to pay back what he owed. If he hadn't come to me, it wouldn't have been some other criminal. But that's beside the point. Enough about what I wanted from Justin. Let's talk about what I want from you. You want me to throw the case. I love this kid. I don't have to beat around the bush with this one. No one will doubt you, especially considering the amount of work you put into this already. You don't need to do anything. Just take a dive. And let someone else take the fall. No matter what happens, the court will blame someone for this. If it makes you feel better, I can assign Timora to defend the old man and his monkey. That way everyone can come out of this unharmed. Everyone wins. Except for the fact that a murderer will be put in charge of House Frege. Please, as if that's any worse than the people in charge of the other noble houses. If you recall, there's already a murderer in charge of House Von Sanctus. They're all dirty. You've seen it, haven't you? They rig the system. They pay, threaten, or even kill people to get their way. All we're doing is leveling the playing field. Tyrion, please, just listen to him. How can you just go along with this? I told you a long time ago that there were certain parts of my job that I couldn't tell you about. Well, this is it. This is what we need to do to beat them. Those rumors about you, they're all true, aren't they? Forgery, bribery, blackmail. You're guilty of each and every one of them. And you used him to do it, all so you could keep winning. You blackmailed Miriam, Miss Timora. As if we should show any pity for that spoiled princess. A dreadful thought just entered your mind. Steelwind. She was attacked the day after Beatrice was arrested. Was that... I didn't know that's what they were planning. Despite my confidence in Timora's skills, I'm afraid there was too much riding on this to leave to chance. You've got to make your own luck if you want to beat the system. How could you? She almost died. We never expected her to strain her injuries like that. And we definitely didn't expect you to take her place. So believe me when I say that I'm being uncharacteristically reasonable right now. How could you even consider working with someone like him? Don't you think it's a little arrogant to judge her, Cuthbert? What? You talk about defending people as if you two are even close to being equals. But she doesn't have the luxury of looking into people's minds. Now does she? You told him about the Eye of Horus? The future of magic is changing, kid. Like I said before, I have big plans for this kingdom. And I also have big plans for you. Do you think I would ever? Tyrion, stop. To be honest, I hate it as much as you do. But whether you like it or not, we need their help. But this is... Think about every client you defended. Think of Celeste. If you didn't have the Eye of Horus, what would have happened to her? If even one thing went differently, Pierce would have gotten away and Celeste would have been executed. You've taken chances and followed your instincts, and that's worked for you so far. But what if it's not enough? What if the system is too corrupt for you to fight against next time? With the Eye Taker's help, you'll never have to worry about that again. If I had accepted his help sooner, I could have saved your mother. So what's it gonna be, kid? You already know about what happened to that Steelwind brat. So I don't need to tell you what'll happen if you don't play ball. Wait. No. What? Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't always win against the nobility unless I play dirty like they do. But this is wrong. Tyrion. I'm not going to compromise my principles, not even for you, Miss Timora. Sorry to hear you say that, kid. I really am. With one motion of his hand, every mercenary in the room draws their weapons. Please, you don't have to do this. Whatever conviction you had before is slowly fading. You should have never entered this place. You knew something was off. There are about a dozen mercenaries here, and there's even more guarding the way out. You're nowhere near as physically strong as Celeste, but maybe you can make a break for it if you get lucky. No. Celeste? What the? How did you get in here? My whole job is keeping this guy safe. Do you honestly think I'd just let you take him to an undisclosed location? It doesn't matter, as if one girl will make a difference. Well, what are you all waiting for? Is that really her? Upon seeing Celeste, the mercenaries cautiously step back. No one wants to make the first move. This monstrous aura, it has to be her. What the hell are you doing? You have her surrounded. Despite his command, no one takes a step forward. Look, let's all just sit down and talk about this rationally. Perhaps a different approach is warranted here, Father. What? Could I have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Cuthbert? I believe I can make him see things our way. I'm sorry, sweetie, but I can't just... Well, you've never been wrong before. I'll leave them to you, love. Shall we go, you two? Celeste silently watches Iris with her sword drawn, but unlike the mercenaries, Iris seems unmoved. She merely walks past her and out the exit. You and Celeste exchange glances and follow after her. That was close. I don't think I could have fought that whole room while protecting you. Does that mean she could have fought them if she were alone? You two are really courageous to a fault, aren't you? Iris, I appreciate you vouching for us, but I'm not changing my mind about this. Oh, I'm well aware of that. Why do you think I intervened? Oh, well, thank you. Is this really okay? Won't your dad be mad? I should be asking Tyrion that same question. You've seen your adopted mother's true colors and rejected them. How are the two of you going to move forward? She's not mine. Isn't she, though? She lost any right to deny it the moment she took it upon herself to raise you. She only did that because I asked her to. It wasn't her choice. But it was. How old were you when your real mother was executed? 10 years old? Iris? Back then you barely knew Tymora. It would be a stretch to even call her a family friend. She was the adult in that situation, and what did she do? She fed your anger and hatred for the nobility instead of allowing you to process your grief healthily. Tymora took you away from your only friends and isolated you from society. She even homeschooled you, didn't she? As a result, you never formed any other relationships. You made your first close friend at the age of 20, and she was your client. Don't you think that's a bit sad? She isolated you because she wanted to use you. That's not true. That's not why she... From what I've seen today, you clearly have no idea who Tymora is. Even with the Eye of Horus, you're clearly a terrible judge of character. Iris, you're going way too far. To save you from more heartache, let me give you one last piece of advice. Iris leans in really close to you and begins to whisper into your ear. Do you honestly think Celeste will ever love you? What? I'm sure you understand now. Tymora can only afford to pay her exorbitant salary because of my father. You've already burned that bridge, so where do you think the Crimson Demon will go when you can't afford her services anymore? No, she's not. With Flintheart dead, she has to worry about her mother. Do you think she has the luxury of playing around with you for free? Or did you actually think that she enjoys spending time with you? Tyrion, you have to look at this rationally. Any support or affection that she's given you has only been to keep you as an employer. You seem to know a lot about these things. I had to do a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. Do you know how many times I had to charm a merchant into hiring me? Why are you doing this? Because I want to finally break you. I'm just trying to keep you from getting hurt. It may seem cruel, but you have to be realistic about these things. You trusted Tymora and she betrayed you. Try not to make the same mistake twice. Celeste didn't hear anything she said, but she seems to know how it's affecting you. Iris, that's enough. My apologies. I've been told that I've been too blunt sometimes, but I do hope you'll think about what I said. Anyways, the trial should be starting soon. We should make our way back to the courthouse. I'm genuinely curious to see how this trial ends. Hey, Tyrion, are you okay? What did she say to you? She reaches for your hand, but you instinctively yank it away from hers. Tyrion? Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm okay, really. Okay? Is he mad at me? You can think about everything else later. But for now, you know what you need to do. You need to convict Beatrice Frege. Court is now resumed for the trial of Beatrice Frege. Is the defendant prepared to take the stand? Tymora, I asked you a question. Is the defendant prepped or not? She is. If the prosecution still wants to move forward with... The prosecution will be moving forward with this. Please bring in the witness. Do you still see it, Celeste? Yeah, it's still there. Should I reveal it now? No. Let's really make a point of it. Wait for my signal. Thank you for agreeing to take the stand, Miss Frege. Mr. Cuthbert? It's my understanding that you were with the two princes for most of the night. Yes, I was. Which is why I'm still quite confused as to why I'm being charged for this crime. Out of everyone there that night, I'd have thought my alibi was the most solid. That remains to be seen. Clearly? Anyways, since you still maintain your innocence, you'll have no problem going into detail about your supposed alibi. As you know, I was with Crown Prince Aster and Prince Alaric for most of the ball. I went there after my meeting with Father, and I remained with them until I was arrested for his murder. Lord Steelwind and the Kingsguard kept watch over me for the entire night as well. I neither had the means nor the opportunity to steal the Sword of Spell-Eating and break into my father's study to murder him.
Objection!
And that, Miss Frege, is where you're mistaken. You definitely had the means to commit both crimes while under the eye of everyone there that night. The most effective tool an attorney has is revealing a contradiction in a witness's testimony. It not only completely shatters your opponent's argument, it also makes the court doubt whether the witness is acting in good faith. Usually, you've used evidence to reveal contradictions like this. Now, Celeste. A Burio? Wait, what are you doing? Your Honor, the witness's testimony is clearly... Oh my god, what the hell is that thing? Tyrion, get behind me. A monster, it's a monster. Someone call the Inquisition, the Kingsguard, anyone. Your Honor, can you please restore order? Your Honor? Yeah, he fled out the back door the moment he saw me. It can talk? It's a demon, it must be. It's just like the legends say. Can we all just calm down? It takes a while before you can get everyone in the room to settle down. Eventually, it was clear that the demon wasn't intent on harming anyone, at least not yet. The court ordered extra guards just in case, and you were eventually able to bring everyone back to the courtroom. Had to find the right boat the judge was sailing on? Mr. Cuthbert, what is the meaning of this? Sorry, I didn't know it was a... Actually, what are you? Are you a demon? Oh yes, I am a demon. Demons actually exist? I thought they were only a legend. Your Honor, not only do demons exist, the defendant has made one into her familiar. She's only blind in the literal sense. She's constantly looking through the eyes of her familiar to see. And? What do you mean, and? It's pretty obvious that making a pact with the demon is incriminating by itself. Tell me, Your Honor, do the laws of Wyverngard prohibit entering in accord with the demon? They don't, but... Then my client has committed no crime. Even so, I really would have preferred not revealing Marunath like that. Marunath, is that your name? It is what most people call me. Marunath, demonic familiar. Well, I suppose you have a point, Timora. Having a demon as your familiar isn't technically illegal. However, this does prove that the defendant had a way to commit the murder, all while under the eye of everyone in the ballroom. She could have sent Marunath upstairs to the gallery and then had him steal the Sword of Spell-Eating. After that, they would just need to traverse the vents into William's study, just like Eugene did that night. The fact that her familiar is a demon proves that she couldn't have done that. What do you mean? You saw how everyone reacted when they saw Marunath's form. Monkey may have raised some eyebrows, but someone surely would have reported Marunath if they saw him. Timora, your client is a master of illusion magic. Can I assume that we'll find invisibility in her spell compendium? You might. And with the connection granted by familial bond, she could have cast this spell on him regardless of where each of them was. I'll admit that my client does know how to cast invisibility, but your theory raises another question. Could my client continue casting it unnoticed? Continue casting it? You'll understand once I go over the order of events that night. At an unknown time, someone stole the Sword of Spell-Eating from the Haraldson Gallery. Due to the timing of this, I'll admit that it would be logically consistent if my client was the thief. However, sometime later my client met with the Crown Prince and was watched closely by the Kingsguard. From witness accounts, including yours, we know that this happened at 12:45 a.m. And since this time, my client didn't leave the Kingsguard's sight. It was around this time that William Frege retreated into his study and locked the door. He made a point of telling everyone that he didn't want to be disturbed. Then at 1:03 a.m., Lord Haraldson finally discovered the sword was stolen. He reported the theft to the Kingsguard, and they activated the lockdown system. Shortly after the report, Lady Frege tried to speak with her father about the theft. William Frege reiterated that he did not want to be disturbed. Lady saw his face, and there weren't any traces of illusion directly on his body. This means that William Frege was still alive at that time. Unbeknownst to everyone at the time, William Frege was attacked by the murderer at 3:12 a.m. This is confirmed not only by Jan Hughes' testimony, but also by the autopsy report. Then at 3:26 a.m., the Kingsguard found the sword of spell eating in my client's old room. The Kingsguard tried to arrest my client for this, but the Crown Prince told them to stand down. Finally, at 3:36 a.m., the lockdown was lifted. Jan Hughes reported what he had heard. That's when the Inquisition and the Kingsguard discovered the body. The theft must have happened before 1:23 a.m., when it was actually reported. In order to keep Marnath concealed at every step, my client would have needed to keep him invisible from 1:03 a.m. to 3:12 a.m. Not only that, she needed Marnath to wield the Sword of Spell Eating to ignore the effects of the anti-magic fields. This means he would need to be invisible for more than an hour. What's your point? My point is that invisibility has a duration of 1 hour. I'll admit that my client could have cast invisibility before she met with the Crown Prince. But if she wanted to keep Marnath invisible, she would have needed to recast the spell at some point that night. And as you know, my client couldn't have done so during that night without the Kingsguard noticing it. Your logic makes sense. But that can only mean that the defendant refreshed the invisibility right in front of everyone watching. In front of the entire Kingsguard, the two princes and Lucio Steelwind? As unlikely as it is, it's the only conclusion I can come to. I had a feeling you'd say that, which is why we have a witness who can confirm that Beatrice didn't perform any magic that night. A witness? Your Honor, the defense would like to call Prince Alaric to the stand. I see. He would have certainly been close enough to notice the defendant casting magic. But wouldn't the Crown Prince's testimony be more suitable? Are you trying to say that Prince Alaric is unqualified to give proper testimony, Your Honor? Of course he's saying that. The kid is 7 years old. No, of course not. Is the prince ready to testify? Grow a spine, for Lord's sake. Thank you for coming in, Prince Alaric. Could you please... Hold your tongue, knave. You will speak when you are spoken to. Oh god, he sounds exactly like Miriam when we first met her. Honestly, he behaves exactly like how you'd expect a prince of this rotten kingdom to act. Aster's the odd one out in this situation. Makes you wonder what made him so down to earth. Your Highness, Mr. Cuthbert believes that the defendant used her magic while she was with you and the Crown Prince. I already gave my statement to the instigators. This man dares to question my testimony? Yes, he said it, not me. Wow. Judge didn't think twice about throwing you under. So, just to point out, I assume he said he gave his testimony to the instigator. I'm assuming that was intentional. Like, the proper word there would have been investigator, but on account of him being 7, he used the wrong one and just no one's called him out on it yet. That might be me reading a little too much into this, but that's just my take on things. But very well, if my testimony is required to strike down those redundant accusations, I will bestow it upon you. Redundant? Don't you mean ridiculous? Mr. Cuthbert, do not dare to suppose what His Highness really means. His boots must be shining from all that licking you're doing. What was that? Nothing. You think Lady Frege cast magic right in front of me? Don't be a serf. She was under the careful watch of the Kingsguard, my brother, and Lord Steelwind. We conversed for the whole night, and I didn't see her cast any magic. She's been through so much over the last few years, all because of her horrid father. She'd never do something like this. You and Lady Steelwind are just jealous. He seems really convinced that he didn't see anything. You doubt that he's intentionally lying. Celeste, usually when you cast Detect Magic, I can see magical energies overlaying your eyes. Yeah, there's always a visible magical effect on the target when I cast a spell. But Marnath was probably in another room. The Kingsguard wouldn't see the initial magical effect of invisibility. Even if there wasn't a visible effect in that room, she would have still needed to say the incantation and perform the gesture with her hands. Right. Like how you shout Reperio Arcanum every time you scan a crime scene. I don't shout it. Anyways, she must have done the incantation and gesture at some point during the night. Did she ever get an opportunity to conceal herself to do so? Celeste, what do you usually need to do to cast a spell? There are a lot of factors involved, honestly. Stamina and focus are a big part of it. Assuming that she's in perfect condition, what's the bare minimum that she would need to do? Well, she would have to focus her magic, say the incantation, and perform the gesture with her hands, all at the same time. That does sound pretty conspicuous, but she must have hidden it somehow. You think Lady Frey... One second, I need a drink. Sorry, there was a first-hand demonstration why they have so much water in a courtroom. You think Lady Freyga cast magic right in front of me? Don't be a serf. He probably meant don't be absurd, but there's not much to gain from correcting him. You may think the idea is absurd, Your Highness, but the defendant was clearly good at keeping secrets. She could have easily concealed her actions at some point during the night. A brief moment to say the incantation and perform the gesture would have been all she needed. But I wasn't the only one watching her. She was under the careful watch of the King's Guard, my brother, and Lord Steelwind. But would they have really noticed her casting one spell? The King's Guard are the most vigilant knights in the kingdom. They are trained to watch and counter a mage's spell. But the defendant needed to target someone who was in another area. There would be no visual indication that she was using magic. But she would have still needed to perform the incantation and complete the gesture with her hands. He's pretty knowledgeable about the arcane arts, but as a Prince of Wyvernguard, you suppose that's to be expected. We conversed for the whole night, and I didn't see her cast any magic. If I recall correctly, you and your brother were with her until she was arrested for the murder. What did you speak about? She told us stories about what she did while she was away. She was researching something, they're missing the word there. I forgot what she said. Something about the old cult. Do you mean the occult? Yes, that's it. She was researching ghosts and demons. Considering who her familiar was, her research must have borne fruit. Anyways, Your Highness, could you please add this to your testimony? If I must. So let's just go back to look at that one real quick. She told me and my brother how the occult are a fascinating phenomenon. I didn't see her cast any magic. She's been through so much over the last few years, all because of her horrid father. You're clearly sympathetic to her situation, but you must have only been a toddler when she left 5 years ago. My brother spoke of her a lot. He told me all about her. I could tell from his face, he was really sad that she ran away. Even if it's not romantic, Aster clearly cares about her a lot. The prosecutor must have complicated feelings about that. And he's talking about Steelwind, if you didn't gather. Since we're the prosecutor here, just to be specific. She'd never do something like this. You and Lady Steelwind are just jealous. Well, I can't speak for Miss Steelwind, but I'm just trying to get to the truth. Liar. You just hate her because she's a noble, don't you? Lord Von Sanctus told me all about you. You just want to lock nobles up because you're jealous of how much gold we have. Ah. So he speaks to Von Sanctus frequently. That actually explains a lot about his personality. Celeste, what do you usually need to do to cast a spell? A lot of factors, stamina and focus. So we already had all this said before. So notice occultare.
Objection!
To cast a spell, a mage needs to speak an incantation, but there's nothing that says you can't say anything before or after it. Your Highness, according to your testimony, the defendant told you that the occult are a fascinating phenomenon. Is that exactly what she said, word for word? Yes, the stories she told us were quite interesting. They really struck a chord with me. I see. So it's supposed to be they struck a chord? Well, even if they were interesting, your testimony proves that she did cast the invisibility spell that night. Are you deaf? I already told you. No one heard her say any incantations, nor did they see her perform any gestures. Unfortunately, your testimony proves the contrary. Beatrice Frege said an incantation, performed a gesture right in front of you, all without anyone even knowing it. What? Your Highness, there are two components required to cast invisibility. First, the caster must speak the incantation Occult Are and clap both of their hands together. As I'm sure you noticed, the defendant has a habit of clapping both of her hands to calm herself. Now that I think about it, that habit must have come from constantly casting the spell. The defendant requires Marunath to see, so she must constantly cast invisibility to keep him invisible. Cuthbert, you may have an explanation for how she hid the gesture, but she would have still needed to speak the incantation. But she did speak the incantation, and the witness's testimony proves it. What are you talking about? I never said that she spoke any incantation. Your Highness, the incantation for invisibility is Occult Are. Now recall what the prince said in his testimony. She said, the occult are a fascinating phenomena. The pronunciation of that one phrase is identical to the incantation. I see, so she hid the incantation in her dialogue. And because her target was a creature that was outside of the ballroom, no one saw the magical effects. This means that Marunath had the means to murder William Frege just as Eugene did. Having the means is completely different from actually having done it, Cuthbert. Very few people had the ability to shatter the display case to steal the Sword of Spell-Eating. And even fewer people had a familiar small enough to traverse the vents. Which also makes Harrelson's familiar an equally likely suspect. And unlike my client's familiar, he admitted to breaking into William's study that night. If your client's familiar is truly innocent, then why not have him testify before the court? I see. Well, it's not as if he's the first unprecedented witness we've had today. Is Marunath willing to testify, Miss Tymora? You see Tymora deliberating with Beatrice and Marunath. You can't hear what they're saying, but they're clearly in disagreement with each other. Marunath in particular seems to be the most vocal about his displeasure. Your Honor, unfortunately, Marunath is unwilling to testify. Why the change of heart? My client's familiar may be a demon, but he's afforded the same rights as any other person. He is not obligated to testify. You look at Marunath and he's grinding his very sharp teeth together. For some reason, he appears to be looking at you with intense hatred. Why are they being so secretive all of a sudden anyway? A witness can refuse to testify to avoid incriminating themselves, but a refusal to testify is suspicious in and of itself. Tymora had no issues with Beatrice taking the stand earlier, so why would she change her tune when it comes to Marunath? And despite what she said, Marunath seems like he disagrees with their decision the most. Is it possible that he's the weakest link of the three of them? If so, he might be the key to implicating them. And according to legends, demons take great pride in their ability to deceive and corrupt people. You wonder. I see, Marunath is well within his right to refuse, if that's what he truly wants. It is. Well, I suppose it's for the best. I doubt he'd be able to corroborate your story at all. Marunath grinds his teeth together. It sounds like metal grinding on metal. Considering his diminutive figure, I don't blame him for being a coward. Mr. Cuthbert, could you please refrain from provoking the literal demon? Oh, it's fine, Your Honor. He can't do anything without his master's word. And between him and the defendant, it's clear that Beatrice is the brains of the operation. You shut your filthy celestial mouth! Marunath, what are you doing? I will not stand here and be insulted by a bloody Heavensborn. Heavensborn? I am still within my contract, and I will not flee from the likes of him. You want my testimony? I'll give you my goddamn testimony.
Objection!
Your Honor, my client does not consent to having her familiar testify. Tymora, didn't you say earlier that Marunath is afforded the same rights as any other person? He has a right to refuse to testify, but only he can decide if he wants to exercise it. And he's clearly intent on giving it. So, Marunath, why don't you testify about what you were doing on the night of the murder? Gladly. I provided sight to my keeper while she spoke with the princes. I'll admit that she did cast invisibility on me during their conversation. She needed to keep me hidden after all. But I never left the room where my master was. Nor did I steal the Sword of Spell-Eating. You have nothing on me, Heavensborn. You don't even have proof that I entered the William Frege's study. Actually, we do. Do do you honestly expect us to take your word for it? Or do you have any evidence to support your alibi? I only speak the truth, Heavensborn. There were mages other than my keeper that could have stolen the sword. And by your own admission, none of your witnesses saw me on the night of the murder. The one lacking evidence is you. He has a point. You still need definitive proof that ties him to the murder. Presenting contradicting evidence might not be possible. However, he's clearly lying in his testimony, and there's something strange about the way he's speaking. Why is he pausing so much? You're not seeing any thoughts through the eye, but perhaps you can try to interpret the meaning of his words. I provided sight to my keeper while she spoke with the princes. Is this something that you frequently do? Yes, my keeper's accident left her completely blind. She looks through my eyes to see her surroundings. And did she look through your eyes while she was with the princes? Yes, she did. He took a bit of a pause before answering your question. I'll admit that she did cast invisibility on me during that conversation. She needed to keep me hidden after all. Wait, does that mean she normally casts invisibility every hour? My keeper is a powerful mage, and my pact with her has only made her stronger. Wow, it's actually really impressive. Really? Casting spells may look effortless, but continuously casting spells takes a lot of stamina out of the caster. She must have a lot of stamina if she can cast a high-level illusion every hour. But I never left the room where my master was. And did your master leave the room while she was with the princes? No. I'm sure you remember, my keeper was under the careful watch of the Kingsguard and Lucio Steelwind. And you're maintaining that you never left the ballroom. As I said, I never left the room where my master was. He has a habit of pausing before he responds to you, but it only happens sometimes. Is it some strange demon accent, or is it something else? Nor did I steal the sword spell eating. Beatrice was one of the few mages present that could shatter the glass. Yes, but being able to do something and actually doing it are two different things. He's right. You won't be able to convict Beatrice until you can connect Marunath to the murder. But you have a feeling he's the one who's going to give it to you. You have nothing on me, Heavensborn. You don't even have proof that I entered William Frigga's study. Why do you keep calling me that? Oh, does the Heavensborn not know the nature of his blood? Your blood? Could he be referring to your mother? Wait, do you know where my abilities come from? Oh, how marvelous. You don't know, do you? If you make a pact with me, child, I can tell you the nature of your blood, and much, much more. Mr. Cuthbert, please don't make deals with the devil in my courtroom. I wasn't planning to, Your Honor. He clearly knows something, but making a deal with a demon is just asking for trouble. He could also just be trying to distract you. You should stay on task. He is definitely more direct than most witnesses. Yeah, but he's still clearly lying. And there's something off about the way he's speaking. He paused before saying certain statements. You need to interpret the statement that seems the most suspicious. Okay, so I stopped to get a drink. So I left it on this screen. Never left the room where the master was. The way I would prove this would be trying to get the dog to recognize the scent. Objection! Let's see if he actually does that. He keeps taking pauses before certain statements, but not all of them. And more importantly, his word choice was different at that time. Did he slip up? Marunath. It looks like you misspoke and used the wrong word. What? Through most of your testimony, you referred to Beatrice Frigga as your keeper. But you referred to her as your master during one statement. Why is that? For the first time, he doesn't have a response. So I'll ask you again. Did you leave the ballroom that night? I didn't leave the room where my master was. He's using the word master again, even though you pointed it out. Why isn't he correcting it? Does that mean he's intentionally using that term? If so, why? There has to be a reason why. So we have Marunath, Beatrice, Tymora, and William. 4. Here we only have is and is not. We have Tymora, Beatrice, William, and Marunath. Okay, if you take his words at face value, the master he's referring to isn't Beatrice. And if Beatrice isn't his master, then his statement, "I never left the room where my master was," would technically be true. But why even bother making that distinction? He clearly has no moral hang-ups about committing murder. He could have just lied. Demons apparently pride themselves on tricking and corrupting humans. So why wouldn't he just lie in his testimony? So, demons are not able to lie very easily. Can't be. Demons are clearly different from humans, but would they seriously have a limitation like that? So, if you're not familiar, this is an old myth thing where they can't lie, they just tell you inconvenient truths. They omit things, and basically what they tell you and what they choose not to tell you is how they twist you into their plots or machinations. So it's fairly old-school magic they're referring to here. It would explain why Tymora and Beatrice are so opposed to having him testify. There's only one way to know for sure. Witness, can you repeat the following statement for me? Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green. What kind of ridiculous request is that? Another pause. I'm afraid I must agree, Mr. Cuthbert. Please don't waste our time with such random requests. I'm just conducting a little experiment, Your Honor. So I'll ask you again, Marunath. Say that Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green. Your Honor, Cuthbert is clearly making trivial requests to stall for time. His request is not worth a response from the witness. That's not what I'm doing, Tymora, and I think you know that. Marunath, we truly don't know much about demons aside from the stories told in myths. So is it possible that demons are physically unable to lie? Damn it. I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but that seems quite ridiculous. Why wouldn't the witness be capable of lying? I genuinely don't know, Your Honor, but his testimony speaks for itself. He can easily refute it by granting my request. Say, Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green, witness. You said it yourself. Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is green. That's not what I asked for, witness. Repeat the statement I told you word for word, nothing after or before it.
Objection!
Your Honor, the prosecution's argument is absurd. The witness is not obligated to justify such an outrageous request. I might be compelled to agree with you, Miss Tymora, if the witness wasn't clearly avoiding fulfilling that request. Well, we're all waiting, Marunath. You can easily prove me wrong by repeating my statement plainly. You filthy heavensborn. Say it, Marunath. Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is... Tyrion Cuthbert's hair is... blonde. Well, technically it's a dirty blonde. Oh, shut up. Is Mr. Cuthbert correct, Marunath? Are you actually unable to lie? I think his silence speaks for itself, Your Honor. Remarkable. I would have never imagined. And with that, proving my case becomes a much simpler matter. Marunath, did you murder William Frege? I'm sure you understand, witness. Under these circumstances, staying silent is basically an admission of guilt. You have no reason to stay quiet, Marunath. Tell him the truth. Lady Beatrice, what are you... I believe it's time to come clean, don't you, Marunath? I see. So that's your play. Don't think you can just stall for time, Miss Frege. Marunath has no choice but to answer the question. Do it, Marunath. Tell the court the truth. To answer your question, yes. I did murder William Frege. What are you doing? Miss Frege, does this mean you are confessing to the murder? Oh, Your Honor, I'm not admitting to anything. This confession comes from Marunath himself. But your own familiar just... Let me ask you a question, Marunath. Did I order you to murder my father? No, you did not, Lady Beatrice. What are you talking about? You're lying, aren't you? Demons are physically unable to lie, Mr. Cuthbert. Damn it, she's right. She must have done something. Did she plan for this? She must have arranged things so that statement would be technically true. She could have asked someone else to give the order, or she could have just implied it. Either way, she can just plead ignorance and blame everything on Marnath. Still, this isn't over. Oh? Is that so? Let me tell you, this trial was over the moment Arya turned her blade against me. I don't care who you are, man, king, or demon. You're not going to get away with this. Oh, I do love the gravitas behind that, but I wonder how long it will last. Hit me with your best shot, Heavensborn. Beatrice Frege, you may not have technically ordered your father's murder, but you were clearly acting with malice. You brought something dangerous into the manor, something that you knew would harm your father. Oh, really? And what would that be? What was so dangerous that it implies lethal intent? You brought Marnath into Frege Manor that night. I was a little concerned there because I didn't see his profile pop up, so in case you're wondering why I was a little hesitant there. You were clearly planning to murder your father from the start. I require Marnath to see that does not imply lethal intent. But you brought a demon into that house, and as a result your father was killed. That's hardly an innocent mistake. My client specifically asked her father if familiars were allowed. We even received a written legal confirmation beforehand. But he couldn't have possibly expected her to bring in a demon. He didn't specify not to do this. The presence of Marnath did not break any of his rules nor any laws made by the kingdom. Right you are, Timora. I can hardly be blamed if my familiar acts without my knowledge. How can you be blameless in Marnath's actions? He is your familiar. By that same logic, shouldn't we also blame Lord Haraldson for the actions of his pet monkey? If I recall, he broke into the study, tampered with the crime scene, and then left my father's body without reporting it. That's... Marnath and Eugene are intelligent and sentient creatures. They have their own autonomy. Their keepers aren't legally responsible for their actions. Damn it, she's playing devil's advocate. But you suppose that's fitting for her. But you still cast invisibility to keep Marnath hidden that night. Mr. Cuthbert, I always cast invisibility on Marnath. I can't very well let people see him. Face it, Mr. Cuthbert, you have nothing on me. Every crime related to the murder was committed by Marnath. Where's the breaking of the glass? Okay, we don't actually have that there. Huh. I'm looking for proof that she had to cast the spell to shatter the glass. It's just, it's been so long, I don't know where it went. Okay, maybe it was this one. No, she said she didn't commit any crimes. If I don't see it right away, I'm just gonna splice it in where I found it. So it's not one of those. We didn't identify what spell it was that she used. So it was the freaking sword itself that had the clue. Beatrice, Monath required your magic to break the wards guarding the Sword of Spellinging. You may be able to explain why you cast invisibility that night, but you can't explain why you cast an evocation spell powerful enough to shatter that display case. Oh, that? I'd almost forgotten. I plead guilty. What? To the charge of grand theft, I mean. I ordered Marnath to help me steal that artifact so I could sell it on the black market. I would have never imagined that he'd use it to murder my father. He didn't. Right, it doesn't matter if she's found guilty of stealing the sword. The Slayer rule only takes effect if she's found to be responsible for her father's death. Damn it. Is there seriously nothing you can do? So I don't think he's interested in the appeal. Truth be told, all of these things suck. Let's see. Deflect, I don't think does anything here, so... Marnath, the sentence for first-degree murder is death. Are you really willing to die for your keeper's crimes? Oh, you stupid Heavensborn, demons never truly die. When our bodies are destroyed, we return to the abyssal hells. Hell? If I were to die in accordance with your laws, I would only return to my plane unharmed. What? Even if I could die, a fate much worse than death awaits me if I fail. Those three are a pain to argue against when they're together. You can't break Beatrice's confidence at all. So, do you have anything else, Mr. Cuthbert? I didn't think so. Your Honor, it appears we found the true culprit. I can't believe you killed my father, Marnath. I'm so cross with you. I should give my apologies. I won't do it again. Don't worry, I forgive you. Now then, is there any reason why this trial hasn't ended already, Your Honor? Come on, don't you have anything else? There is one thing. Damn it, not again. Oh, is that all you can do now? Glare at me? What? Marnath, what did you just do? I've been watching him. He's been using an old celestial trick. But it's weak. Your divine gaze won't work here, Heavensborn. You... Looks like that was your last piece, Cuthbert. No, this can't be how it ends, not after you've come this far. What is it that you like to say in these situations? Checkmate, Cuthbert. Well, I have to say this was one of the more eventful trials I've overseen. It was many things, if not enlightening, but I suppose it all ended the same. Come on, think of something, anything. While I find the defendant's actions quite suspect, I must agree with their argument. None of Miss Frigga's actions that night are illegal under Wyvernguard law, and there's no proof that the defendant is responsible for her familiar's actions. With these revelations, I see no room for debate. We will be taking a brief recess. I will announce my verdict once we resume. Damn it, is this seriously how it's going to end? After everything you've gone through to get here? This world is bleak, merciless, and unforgiving. But I've seen you. I know how bright the light within you is. Use my eyes. Peer beyond the divine gate as I once did. Marnath called you a Heavensborn, and your mother told you that there's a light within you. You have no idea what that means. What even is the divine gate? Why do you have the Eye of Horus? Why are you able to read people's minds? You've been so lost lately, but you thought you finally figured out who you're supposed to be. But all of this, everything you've been working towards, it was all a lie. You've spent your whole life trying to be like Miss Timora, but is she even like her? No, she just wanted to raise you into a tool for the Eye Taker. She was never your guardian. She was never your mother. Your real mother died years ago. Was Iris right? Is everyone in your life just trying to use you? Looking back on it, you've had no idea what to do with yourself since your mother died. You've just been making mistake after mistake, leaving Ornax, trusting Tymora, becoming an attorney. You've always just done as you're told. You never once made a path for yourself. But you saved Celeste, and Wallace, and Dracogen, all when no one else would stand up for them. Was helping them a mistake? You fought for a dream that doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean you can't make it real. It's true that you followed Tymora's lead, but you've always done what you thought was right above anything else. You wouldn't have stood up to that criminal if you truly didn't know right from wrong. And you wouldn't be standing here if you'd just done as you were told. What do I do? I'm not going to tell you that. You already know the answer. You've always known the answer. You take a deep breath and relax your thoughts. Situations can seem hopeless sometimes, but there's always a way to win in the end. So let's see, we have evidence, lie, deduction, testimony, so 4 things there: connect, separate, acquit, kill, Harold, Tyrion, Leafy, Beatrice, Marunath, Ruby, Eugene, Tracker. You need to prove that Beatrice ordered it. So I was wondering if we were going to use the monkey as proof that he committed something. In order to convict Beatrice, I need to prove that she was responsible for Marunath's actions. People leave trails, even when they think they've committed the perfect crime. Something always gets left behind. Oh, I see where we're going with this one now. There has to be something that proves Beatrice gave Marunath an order. Beatrice's relationship with Marunath is clearly different from the relationship between 2 humans. There's a specific way the relationship works. So we have evidence, connection, crime, mutual allies. So we have hidden by, killed by, facilitated through, committed by. Here we are. Their connection is facilitated through a pact. There's a specific way the relationship works, or their pact as Marunath calls it. Wasn't there something that someone said, but what was it? I actually don't really remember this offhand. I think it was Harold. Right, the sword of spelling is said to have been forged using a pact between a demon and a mage. Isn't making a pact with a demon just asking for trouble? They'd definitely betray you the first chance they got. Well, let's just say the demons often drafted blood contracts for this reason. Wait, do you mean like a legally binding document? The concept is similar, but once you sign a blood contract, both you and the demon are magically compelled to fulfill its terms. That's right, Beatrice must have made a blood contract with him. A legally binding document like that must describe how their relationship works. Leafy did tell you that Beatrice would never trust someone that she couldn't control. So she would only put herself in a situation where she had full control over Marunath's actions. But it's not as if they'll ever show it to me. It would be a tall order to even prove that blood contracts even exist. I guess you have a point. But if you ask me, I think you've done a wonderful job so far. So just this once, let me guide you the rest of the way. What? Tyrion, your eyes don't actually read minds. They give you the means to reveal truths that are being concealed. You can pull the truth out of anyone and anything. The truth. So, say it together with me. Marunath, dweller of Avernus. Wait, what are you doing? By the Eye of Horus, I issue upon you a divine edict. Release thy guards and manifest your blood contract with Beatrice Frege. Blood contract has been added to your notes. Legal document written in blood, 50 pages long. Luckily you somehow know the exact section the excerpt of the exact section you need. Marunath is prohibited from killing or injuring any and all humans. Beatrice Frege can designate individuals that are exempt from this rule, and exempted individuals will only remain so for 24 hours. After that, Marunath cannot harm them unless told otherwise. You did it, but how? Was that really your... No, that's not important right now. She gave you what you needed. The rest is up to you. What in the nine hells was that? When did you learn to... Mr. Cuthbert? What just happened? Your Honor, I just made the witness manifest their blood contract. You did what? Blood contract? You can think of it as a legally binding document. It lays out the terms of the pact between Beatrice Frege and her familiar. Incredible. Where did you learn how to do such a thing? The library? Wow, to think that our kingdom had access to such knowledge. Yeah, I'm not buying it. How did you really find out how to do that? It's a long story. You're not sure if she'd believe you even if you told her. Anyways, the defense's argument is such. Marunath was acting alone, and the defendant is not to blame for his actions that night. However, take a look at page 7 of this blood contract. It specifies that Marunath is prohibited from killing any and all humans. There's only one scenario where he can do so, and that's when Beatrice Frege designates someone to be exempt from this rule. Beatrice Frege, you didn't directly order Marunath to kill your father, but you implied it by telling Marunath that he could kill him. Not only that, you did so within the 24 hours of the Lord's Ball. Your intent was clear. You brought Marunath into Frege Manor with full knowledge that he could and would kill William Frege. And that is checkmate. And just when I thought the surprises were over. But in the end, we arrived at the truth. I suppose I can't disagree with that. What do you have to say for yourself, Lady Frege? Do not call me that. It's almost funny that you hate your name that much. Your entire plan depended on your claim to the Frege estate. Do you have any idea of what you've just cost me? Everything has been ruined because of you. Why should I care? You're just another noble trying to steal power for yourself. Don't you dare lump me together with those tyrants. We wouldn't have just liberated House Frege, we would have liberated everyone. Miriam, Leifi, Arya, even Aster. Our system is broken. The only way we can fix it is by burning it down from the inside. As long as King Olivier sits on the throne, this suffering will only continue. Lady Frege, as the prosecutor, I should warn you. You don't want to add treason to your list of crimes, even though you'd like to see the king ousted as much as she does. It doesn't matter, I'm done either way. Heaven's born, look at page 46 of the blood contract. By accepting this pact, Beatrice Frege forever binds her soul to the abyssal hells. If Beatrice Frege fails to pay her debt by claiming House Frege and all of its assets, her soul, her mind, and her life will be claimed by the Emperors of Discord. The contract goes on to name several parts of House Frege's holdings. There's very little room for ambiguity. Arya was almost right. She just jumped to the wrong conclusion. My debts were never to the Eye Taker. It was to the abyssal hells. Why would you agree to something like this? Because I miscalculated. In this folder are records of your many plots against House Steelwind and the Crown. It would be a shame if this information fell into their hands. You think this feeble attempt at blackmail will frighten me? I've dealt with far more formidable adversaries than you. There's nothing I can't solve with House Frigga's resources. What are you talking about? Lucio Steelwind isn't the type of person you can just buy. It's clear your time away has taught you nothing. Everyone can be bought. Before I left, he controlled every aspect of my life. I saw him as this unstoppable tyrannical force, but I never even considered one possibility. That William Frege was a sheltered moron. He honestly thought he could pay off Lucio Steelwind. Anyone who's met him would know that would never work. I could have sent this information to House Steelwind and the King, but I was running out of time. I needed to inherit House Frigga as soon as I could. I felt trapped. I felt angry. I just wanted something to change. Something about this feels wrong. Something deep inside of you is crying out in anger. A blood contract is still a legal contract, isn't it? What? If it's a contract, we can dispute it. We can find some kind of loophole to get you out of it. What? Trying to redeem the enemy you just defeated? You really are a Heavensborn. I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but I won't accept your help. What? Why? In case you're wondering what I find so funny there, all those jokes about lawyers going to hell, and here's one that's a Heavensborn. I'm probably going to be making this joke for the rest of the playthrough, just so you know. We could at least try, right? Did you seriously come this far just so you could die? To dispute a blood contract is to bet your own soul. If you fail to render it null, your soul will be dragged to hell alongside hers. Even your divine blood won't save you from that fate. But still, I can't just... You've beaten me, Mr. Cuthbert. I don't want to drag anyone else down with me anymore. Not you, not Leafy, not Miriam. Despite everything, I still have my dignity. I believe there's no further need to prolong this trial. Bailiff, please escort Lady Frege and her familiar to a holding cell. I'll be passing my verdict shortly. Hey, are you okay? Yeah, as okay as I can be. You still feel uneasy about how things turned out. It doesn't feel quite like the victory you were hoping for. You fought against the demons, and you can't help but feel like you lost. Cuthbert? We need to talk. What's done is done, but the boss isn't going to take kindly to what you've done today. I know it's a long shot, but maybe if you talk to him, he'll... No. Cuthbert, this is serious. He's going to send people after you. Dangerous people. You can't just ignore this. How old were you when your real mother was executed? 10 years old? Timora was the adult in that situation, and what did she do? She fed your anger and hatred for the nobility, instead of allowing you to process your grief healthily. Timora took you away from your only friends and isolated you from society. As a result, you never formed any other relationships. She isolated you because she wanted to use you. Please just listen to me and... Shut up. Tyrion? How could you do this? How could you work with criminals? Cuthbert, Everything you told me, all those ideals about protecting the weak, it was all a lie. Everything Commander White said about you is true, isn't it? I'm just trying to... I don't want your help. As you yell at her, your voice echoes throughout the lobby. Several of the people nearby turn silent. I gave up everything for you, my childhood, my home, my happiness. I left it all behind to chase the ideal that you told me we were fighting for. But it was never real, was it? You made me throw away everything, all for a goddamn lie. But I'll make it real. And I'll do it without you. Tyrion, As she reaches her hand out to you, you step away from her. You never cared about me, did you? All you cared about was using the Eye of Horus. That's not... Shut up, I don't want to hear any more of your damn lies. Go away. Get the hell away from me. I never want to see you again. Without a word, she walks away from you. Tyrion. She reaches out her hand to hold yours again, but she hesitates this time. Do you honestly think Celeste will ever love you? I'm sure you understand now. Timora can only afford to pay her exorbitant salary because of my father. You've already burned that bridge. So where do you think the Crimson Demon will go when you can't afford her services anymore? Do you think she has the luxury of playing around with you for free? did you actually think that she enjoys spending time with you? Tyrion, you have to look at this rationally. Any support or affection that she's given you has only been to keep you as an employer. No. What? I can't believe it. We actually won. Tyrion, Celeste, there's no way for you to avoid checkmate next turn. Just surrender. There, what about that? Checkmate. Damn it! You've been acting weird since we arrived in Oranax. Does it have something to do with your mother? Please, just talk to me. I'm your friend, aren't I? Your hands are trembling. Why are you so scared right now? You feel Celeste hold your trembling hand from behind you. It's the same sensation you felt back then. Your anxiety fades and you take a deep breath. I'm not going to do that, Miss Tymora. As she hesitates to hold your hand, you reach out and grasp it. She smiles as you take hold of it. She seems glad you didn't pull away this time. Without thinking, you pull her into a hug. Huh? Sorry, I just really need this right now. Should I stop? No, it's just... people are staring at us. Who cares what they think? They're nobles. It's so hard for me to keep a straight face with them. They're going to hate us no matter what we do. Sad part is that so much something... That's akin to what I've said several times in the past, except instead of the word noble, it was a different adjective. You're still unsure of what you're going to do next, but perhaps you don't need to, even if Tymora's ideal was a lie. Hey, Celeste, there's been something I wanted to tell you about. Oh? What is it? It's hard to explain, really. I don't even know where to begin. But it's about an ability I have. I call it the Eye of Horus. Even if that ideal was a lie, you have the power to make it real. And even if you can't trust Tymora anymore, you have people in your life that you can trust. That concludes Severed Ties. What a fine mess this is. That kid has completely and utterly ruined everything. As much as Tymora hates it, we're going to need to put him in the ground. I don't think that will be necessary. Sorry, love, I know you're fond of him, but I can't let an insult like this go unanswered. He's going to have to pay the price. I think you misunderstood me, Father. I meant that this facade is no longer necessary. What the hell? Is something wrong, Father? Who the hell are you? You look nothing like my daughter, so why? It happened centuries ago, I believe. Your great ancestor hated the monarchy and needed a weapon to fight the mages of the noble house. So he made a pact with me. What are you talking about? But things didn't turn out like he wanted, I'm afraid. Poor Lord Leyren's plot was discovered and his noble house was stripped of its rank and status. His very name was stricken from the annals of history. He was supposed to give me Wyvern Guard, but I had to settle for claiming his bloodline. Leyren? How do you know about my name? No one knew about that name, not even my real daughter. I know it's been centuries, but I haven't forgotten, John. Everyone in your bloodline belongs to me, including your daughter. You bastard! What did you do to her? What I do to all my prey. I made her suffer. No. Did you know that she was crying out for you for months? I made her watch, you know? I made her watch as I took her place. All while the father that she so desperately called out for forgot who she was. All while my minions slowly and painfully tore her soul apart. You monster! You goddamn monster! I enjoyed her torment while it lasted, but even that couldn't satisfy me. What I really crave is the blood of a Celestial. That's what this is about? That stupid kid? But I can't have you kill my dear Tyrion just yet. At least not until I'm done with him. You goddamn demon, I'll kill you! This man is your enemy. Your life's goal is, and always has been, to exact revenge on him. What the hell are you talking about? You. I lost everything because of you. They kicked me out of the Inquisition because of your false testimony. What? Let go of me. You killed my entire family. I won't let you get away with this. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Hey, isn't that the noble who killed all those children? Heard he got released by paying off the judge. What are you all talking about? Get away from me. Don't lie to us. We know what you did. No, stay away. We've finally entered the final act, my dearest Tyrion. And from what I've seen, I think I know exactly how I'm going to break you. I hope you're just as excited as I am.